LadyLucidity ASMR. Hello there, my lovelies, and welcome to another craft video. Today I'm going to be making this little guy here. He's an axolotl from Minecraft with a bit of artistic license thrown in. So, for this make, I have two types of clay that I'm going to test out. So, I may have to do this in a two-part video, with one being slime clay and another being natural air dry clay. But to start, I'm going to be using some of this fabulous slime clay, and if you guys haven't seen this before, please check out my other videos where I used slime clay. It's super fun and pretty simple to use. Now, for this make, I did find it a little bit challenging because, as you'll see, slime clay is incredibly sticky and it tends to stick to itself a lot, which meant that doing the small fiddly details was quite difficult. So I have a pro tip if you guys want to make this at home and you have some spare time. What I would suggest is rolling out and cutting up your elements and leaving them to dry so they are semi sort of dry or semi sort of hard, and then they're much easier to work with. So I'll show you that in a little bit, but for now we're going to start on just warming this up in between our hands. So depending on the brand of slime clay that you have, and whether they could be hard blocks or in tubs like this, will obviously make a difference on how stretchy it is and how sticky it is. So I'm just going to give it a warm up in between my hands. Make sure it's nice and malleable. I have to say, I do love playing with this stuff because it's, I don't know what the word is, like, it's very tactile, very good for squishing. I guess you could use it as a stress ball. Yeah, I just like rubbing them between my fingers and stuff. It's just super fun to play with. So, just bring up back our little model to give you an idea. And I'm just going to roll this out into kind of a sausage shape to begin with. Obviously it needs to be more squared, and so what we're going to do is use well, this is a fondant roller, but you could just use any rolling pin. And we're going to gently roll along each side, and you'll want to do this on a flat surface, preferably smooth. And we're going to keep doing that until we get more crisp edges. So just keep rolling. If it becomes a little bit too flat, just roll it along one side and that should solve the problem. So Minecraft axolotls are actually quite flat looking. They're not as chunky as I first thought when I was looking at reference images. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to top and tail that. It actually looks like a big eraser at the moment. Squish him together. So this guy is going to be a lot bigger than my first one. I actually found making this one a lot easier because of the size. If you try to make something small and fiddly with slime clay, it's very difficult. If I was going to do something like this again, I think I'd probably just use regular clay and colour it. But let's just smooth those out. Okay. So I'm barely applying any pressure here. I'm just smoothing out the creases a bit. It doesn't matter too much on the bottom because you're not going to see his underside, but I want to try and make sure that the ends are nice and crisp. Okay, so I think we're kind of there. Gives you an idea of the sort of shape we're looking for. And then I'm just going to again neaten off the edge here with my scalpel. So you could use scissors if you don't have a scalpel for this bit, but I found that scissors were tending to get stuck to the clay more than actually cutting it, so I would probably advise, if you can, use a knife or again a craft scalpel. Okay, so here I've rolled out a really thin piece of orange, and this is much easier to cut, especially when you've got lovely sharp scissors like me. Okay, and we're going to cut these into strips, just like that. Okay, so this thin piece here that I rolled out, I did leave for about sort of 5 minutes, just to become less sticky and tacky, so it was a lot easier to work with. It was more like foam after a while, which is good. So, okay, and with this, more is definitely more. I would advise always make backups of your backups. If you're making like feet or legs for your critters, always make double what you need. And just like these little blocks here, these are my decorations that I'm going to stick on later, and I made way more than I needed, but it's always good to have extras, just in case you lose some or they get smushed or, I don't know, dented or anything like that. So always make sure you make extras. That way, if you mess up, you have backups. Okay, so there's our tiny little bits in there. I'll keep those to one side while we construct his little legs. And you can see here that the legs are starting to try and stick together again, so I've had to cut another one off again. And this is the peril with slime clay, because it just wants to stick to itself. Okay, so I'm going to make some slightly chunkier ones, I think. Okay, make them nice and flat, because as we know, everything in Minecraft is, well, very blocky and flat sometimes. So there we go. So bring back our little block. Looks like a sponge. And I'm just measuring out the legs just to see how they would fit onto his body, if it looks in proportion and such. So before we do that, we're gonna make our head before we stick any of our legs on. Okay, so just move these out of the way, and they can air dry a little bit while I'm making the head. And it's about the right sort of size, so looks pretty good, maybe a little bit less. And I'm going to use the same technique that I used for the body. we're just going to warm it up a little first in our hands, and then we're going to start to shape it. So we want it to look more like a cube-ish, I guess, or a bit chunky. So I'm just going to tap on the ends. If I was being super anal about this, I would probably get a ruler out and try and like cut it to size, but I'm not going for precision today, I'm going for cuteness, so I'm going for aesthetics. So he can have a bit of character, that's fine. Okay, so you'll see the head of the axolotl is a fraction wider than the actual body. So that one's just needs a little bit of rolling out just to make it slightly longer. Should we square those ends off? There we go. Tap, tap, tap. And roll out. Okay. It's looking pretty good. You also want to make sure that you don't make your head too shallow, because remember it's going to have eyes and a mouth on there as well, so you'll need plenty of space to fit them on. Okay, so I'm just going to neaten up this corner here, and then we can squish his head onto there. Now, because it's foam clay and, or should I say slime clay, it will stick to itself pretty easily, so I don't need glue or any other adhesives at the moment, which is a bonus. There we go. If this was made out of regular air drying clay, I'd have to mix up some slip, which is water and a tiny bit of clay, to use as a glue, but as I said, with slime clay you don't have to do that. So I'm just going to make a little indents so I know where to put his eyes and his mouth later. So you could leave it like that or decorate it as I'm going to. And then I'm going to give his head a little bit of definition behind there. Okay. So now he has a head and a body. I'm going to add a little tail line which runs all the way to the back. Okay, so let's pick a good one. And it looks like these ones have stuck together again, so I think I might just use this one here. And again, I'm going to flatten it out. Okay, measure that against it. Make sure it fits. Okay, perfect, and just gently press it on, like so. There we are. Okay, just touch up the sides a bit because he has been manhandled a little. There we go. So that's the back part done. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got the little antennas and the feet detailing on the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the little, like, I don't know if they are antenna or what they are, but little bits that stick out, little fronds, and then these can dry, and we want them to dry rock hard so that they can stand up by themselves. So we're just going to cut a series of blocks, and these little squares are going to be used for making the little antenna and also the little toes on the feet as well. Okay, so I'm just going to zoom you guys in so you can get a better look at what I'm doing. Okay, so this part is going to be a little bit fiddly. I do apologise that I'm kind of blocking the camera slightly, but basically you're going to want to make a little set of stairs. That's what it looks like to me anyway. Okay, so because he's quite a chunky guy, I'm only going to need 3 for this, but for my smaller model I did use 5 little squares on him. So it just depends on how big your model is, really. Okay, so let's just cut some more. Okay. Okay, and just trim that one off. And again, just squish the corners together like that. Okay, nice and simple. Okay, so we've got 2 there. Let's gather my other little bits. Trim those up. Want them nice and neat. Okay, so while our little antennas are drying, we can now work on his legs and feet. So I'm just working out the angle, and if I need to shorten them a little bit, because I think I made them a tad bit long for his body, so I'm just going to shorten those up a bit. Okay. And because they've been sat for a few minutes while I was making other components, they have gone semi-tacky, so they're going to be a lot easier to work with, and they won't stick to themselves as much, so that'll make this process a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to stick our front toe on. So looking from the images of the Minecraft critters pages, it looks like they have 3 little foot pads. I know, they look like torches at the moment. So, okay. Just make another one to go on this end here. Then you're simply going to add 1 to each side. So bring in some slightly smaller ones, like that, so it makes like a little cross shape at the top. If that helps you to kind of visualize how to get them right. Okay, that's it. And just press them on. Like that, and then he's got some itty bitty feet. Okay, and I'm just gonna rinse and repeat, same process again on each foot, and then once that's done, they're then ready to pop just underneath the body. Instead of sticking them to the outside, I decided to overlap them underneath, as you're not going to see the belly of the axolotl, so it doesn't matter too much, but it was so that they were more stable and less likely to break off. Okay. Okay, so I'm just looking at where they line up. Give them a bit of a press. Yay, now he can wave. He has front arms. Okay, and the same with the back. We're just going to line them up and then give it a good press down. Fabulous. Look at these little feet. So cute. Oh. Okay, just make sure they're secure at the bottom, but he's coming coming together very slowly. Okay. Let's just gather up some more of my yellow. Now the reason I saved this bit for last is for the tail. Okay, so again, it's up to you what colours you want to use. I'm just going for a simple orange and yellow today. Obviously you could be true to the Minecraft colours if you wanted, or you could go completely crazy and do like a rainbow or something. That would be quite fun, wouldn't it? A rainbow axolotl. Okay, so here again I'm just creating a nice sort of long, like a plank shape, trimming off the excess. And then what you're going to need to do is to cut some little indents in our tail. So let's see if I show you on my model. I don't know if you can see. It's like a mini set of stairs again, just going down. Okay. And again, if you want to be particular, you could use a ruler, but I'm just going to eyeball this one, I think. Using my scalpel. At the moment I'm just marking out where I'm going to cut. Okay. And then I'm going to use my scissors for this bit. It's quite a thin piece, so I don't have to worry too much about ripping. It should almost be dry. Okay. There we go. So we've got his little tail. I'm just going to flatten it out and smooth it slightly. Okay, and then I'm going to chop that end off there because it's slightly too long. They only have little tails in Minecraft. So, okay. Next, you're going to want to grab your other colour. So again, I'm going to go back to my orange. And we're going to need quite a long piece for this, because it does go around the tail. Okay. So we're going to need this piece of orange here. Just roll it out. It's still nice and sticky, this piece, so quite malleable. Roll it out into a really thin strand. Okay. Try and make sure it doesn't break. Okay. Then this is the really delicate part, so we're going to wrap it around our tail. Okay, don't worry too much about it being rounded, because we're going to lightly roll it out so it is flat afterwards. Okay, make sure you press into those corners. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to cut my excess off. And just finish it up there and cut that last bit off. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to roll it out so it's a bit more 2D. And then just to make it a bit more precise, I'm just going to cut the edges off there, make it a bit sharper. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that to one side. So this is where you can personalize your axolotl. So I'm just going to give him some little spots or little squares. Okay. Now on the pictures of them, they are two-toned and they generally do have a couple of squares that are different colours, but as I said, this one's going to be taking a bit of a poetic license, so it's my axolotl and I will customise him how I like. So, okay. I think it gives it a bit of interest as well. It's not quite so plain then. Okay. Just put a couple on the back there. Trying to make sure that I don't stick it directly in the middle so his tail doesn't get in the way. Okay. That's it. Looking pretty good. And a few more on this side, I think. Okay. Lovely. His little feet wanna wiggle. There we go. So we're almost there. We just need to stick on the detailing, such as the antenna. We need to do our little base for our axolotl and our tail. So I'm going to show you how I mixed up my base. So for this I took some blue and some white because I wanted to look like it was in the ocean, but make it a bit more realistic looking, I guess. So mixing some colours. Okay. Also wanted this blue to be slightly lighter, so this is a positive with using slime clay is you can mix colours really easily and get the shade you want. Okay. I think I need a bit more white. And this is going to give that sort of illusion of like ocean foam, like waves and stuff. So I'm just twisting it in. Just fold it in like that. So it's got these really beautiful, like natural swirls going through it, which I really love. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to roll this out, and you can see it has a really nice marble effect. I love doing this when I'm making bases for things. Going to smooth those air bubbles out, and I want to make sure it's big enough for my axolotl to sit on because he is a chunky boy. So let's bring him back in. So I need enough room for the tail, so that should be fine. So it's like a bit of material now. I'm just going to trim off my excess. It's up to you, you could just sort of cut it so it's like a natural wavy looking pond, but for this I'm going to just make it into a rectangular base, I think. Just plain and simple for now. Okay. I'm just going to fold it and roll that out again. And just fold that end over. Okay. kind of reminds me of like rolling like pasta sheets, I guess. That's what it feels like. Okay, again, just trimming my excess off. Okay, square it up. It's looking pretty good, I think. Not too bad. Give it one last smooth out. Make sure he fits on it still. I'm going to put him on a bit of a jaunty angle, make it a bit more interesting. Okay, and then with the excess, I'm just going to cut off some little tiles. Again, going back to that kind of Minecraft kind of block theme, but obviously this isn't strictly the same as the aesthetic you would get in Minecraft. I'm just kind of giving the illusion of it being a bit more like blocky. If I was maybe making a creeper model, or let's see what else, maybe like one of the animals in Minecraft or something like that, or even a villager, I would probably make actual like green cubes for them to sit on rather than a flat base. But because the axolotl is quite long and flat, it seemed a bit more, sensible to do it this way. So now we've got our little watery base. I'm going to add some greenery. So I've got this beautiful vibrant green. And again, I'm going to cut it into like these long slits, and then what I'm going to do is make them into like seaweed looking, I guess, and we're going to have some green dotted around, again just to be artistic. So I'm going to stick our little green squares on kind of haphazardly, however we want to put them. Okay. Just put some over here as well. I'm trying to leave the middle empty because that's where our axolotl is going to be sitting, so too much detail in the middle, otherwise we won't see him. Okay, so these are really simple to do. Just twist. Easy as that. And you can make some really cool little like kelpy, viney looking things. Now these are going to be a little bit wiggly at first, and they may flop over, as you can see, because this clay is still quite sticky. So if you wanted them to stand upright, I would suggest twisting them, then leaving them to dry somewhere, and after about 20 minutes then maybe glue them on to your base. But for the purposes of quickness for this video, I'm just going to stick them straight on as is, and because there's a few together, they kind of support each other. There we go. Okay, let's just have a quick tidy up and bring our little friend back in. There he is. Okay, so I'm going to stick the head on these squares here, and that gives him a little bit of height at the front. Kind of angled upwards slightly, but he's looking pretty good, pretty chill on his little water platform there. Okay, so now our tail is dry, we can just press that onto the back. Okay, there we go, make sure it stays. we've got our little antenna here. Okay, so for this you could use glue at this stage, or you can do what I do and basically pop a little indent using a pen or a knife or something, just to embed them into the head slightly. And you can see here what they look like. Okay, so last detail. So we're going to make a little mouth for him. So I'm going to need pink for this. So I don't have pink unfortunately, so I'm going to have to do a bit of mixing. So I'll get some red and some white and just mix those two together. We only need a tiny bit, and this is probably actually too much. But just for his little mouth. So I could obviously paint it on or draw it on if I wanted to, but I wanted to try and keep this build all in slime clay rather than using a mix of media. This is very, very thin and delicate, so I've got to be gentle with it. I'm going to try and cut off the tiniest little mouth. Really, I should have used tweezers for this to pick it up with. So, if you can see that, it's really, really tiny. Okay, try and position it where I made that little indent. So, boop. Hopefully it doesn't stick to my finger. There you go. And then the last thing we're going to need is some eyes for him. Okay, so for this I am going to use my black pen because they are literally just slits. So I'm just making sure the antenna stays on, and then I'm just going to use a little marker pen for this. There we go. Okay, so now we can see. Okay guys, so and this is what the finished product looks like. Now there is one last thing you can do to make this a little bit extra special looking and to keep it lasting longer, and this is what I use. It's a crystal clear gloss sealant. So typically you could use this on furniture, but I use it on all sorts of craft products, and you'll see it gives it a beautiful shine. Okay, so I've done 2 coats with my spray. You can see, especially the water, it just gives it a really nice gloss effect. He is super cute. I am like so buzzing. I love how this one turned out. I think I actually prefer him to my smaller one that I made. I think I might make some bigger ones, maybe put them in my fish tank as it's empty at the moment, so they can all have little buddies swimming around. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like and please tell me if you enjoyed this video.